Hey, everybody. Yes, I am back. I took a week off and all chaos and ensued, but it was a great episode with the great Michael Weems, of course, LJN for life. Just follow him on Facebook. But folks, we have an even bigger episode this week. Did you know we have Bert Reynolds on the show? Yeah, that's right. We have the one, the only Bert Reynolds. We have a celebrity on our show, and of course, the great Danny Weger, and of course, Brutus Valentine. He is the LJN king. He created the LJN Bible. Folks, it's going to be an amazing episode. It's all coming up next on a live edition of The Figure Guys, and it starts right now. Welcome into another exciting edition of the Figure Guys podcast. Each week, we sit down with the world's best figure customizers and figure collectors. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another exciting edition of the Figure Guys. And remember, folks, playing and talking about your wrestling figures has never been this much fun. Oh man, this is an exciting edition of the Figure Guys podcast. I told you we have a celebrity on the show tonight. Up in the top right, yeah, that's right, folks. Bert Reynolds is on the program. No, not the movie star, the better Bert Reynolds, the Mexican Bert Reynolds, and of course, the great collector, Danny Weber, and of course, the author, the creator of what I am considering the LJN Bible, the great Brutus Valentine, and the man to my right, the man who is the glue that keeps this podcast together, the man who may be drunk by the end of this program.
Yes.
From the land down under, the great Zash Man. Man, last week, great episode. We had the great, the head of LJN for life. It was a great episode. I was not, unfortunately, able to be here. I was on vacation, but I'm back. But man, this is going to be a great episode. You want to kind of introduce to our celebrity panel? I mean, who would have thought we would have a celebrity on only the sixth episode?
Wow, Cesar Cabrera, the Mexican Burt Reynolds. I can't wait to hear how you came up with that nickname, buddy. But a bit of feedback I got from you during the week. You came from Mexico in 1984 when you were 5 years old. In the 1980s, you lived in South Central LA in Watts, California. Is that right? Did I get that right? Okay,
correct. You got it right.
Mate, you lived there during the crack cocaine era, gang-infested neighborhoods. This sounds like a great way to start the show, mate. Can you give our audience some feedback on what you sort of went through in that era?
Okay, brothers. First of all, I want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity. David Fine, Sashman, and the great Brutus Valentine. I owe your book, and I love it, Brutus. And Danny, I love you, brother. Me and you know, we're toe and toe. So, yes, I was told Sashman, part of my story was, many families, that migrate to the United States of America looking for a better life and a better opportunity, way of living, and, just want a better life, So my mom at that time, my father was still alive. He passed away when I was 7 years old. And I could remember when we moved out here, it was in South Central Los Angeles. And I guess at the time I was a kid, I was I was real young. So I didn't really see that till I started growing up. I started growing up and started seeing where I was living at and the environment I was in. And, gang infested, a lot of drugs. And I started seeing my cousins that came here when they were younger. And my uncles, and by the time they came here in the 70s, they were already in gangs, drugs, and out of prison. So I think today, I think God just, blessed me with another opportunity. His grace and his mercy to be here, and that's why I'm speaking to you guys. So 84 was the year we came. Now I clearly remember in 84 the Olympics was on, and that's what I brought this guy up. I don't know if you guys recollect the history. They were in Los Angeles, California. And this was the mascot for the 1984 Olympics. So when that came about, I remember I was 5, 6 years old, and I told my mom, hey, las Olimpiadas, the Olympics. So I got hooked on the Olympics, and I just watched it, the Olympics going on. But finally that year in 1984, going towards 1985, you turn on the channels, and that's when the whole thing began for me. I turned on the TV, and I saw a big white man. I found this big white man wrestling, and I was like, who the hell is this big white man, right? And then I also saw, I don't know where Andre the Giant. Well, the point is I saw this man, Andre the Giant, Iron Sheik, and I saw Snuka and many of the wrestlers. And that's how my journey began, brother. And I think wrestling and playing sports throughout my life helped me to not join gangs or, really get hooked, on substance stuff like that. So, but really, it was 1984, 85, brother, year when I started with this, collecting them and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Great story, right?
I love that story. I mean, what was your first LJN? I mean, did you collected the LJNs back then because they were, popular back then? Who was your first? Was Hogan your first LJN that you collected? And I mean, who was your favorite? I mean, growing up as an LJN collector. I mean, they didn't call them collectors back then. They just, kids collected stuff. I mean, did you think that all these years later you would still be into LJN and collecting?
No, brother David Fine. I don't think I was still be collecting, but it's just funny the way. I don't know if you want me to share my story later on. So Danny, whatever, we'll get a chance. How I got back into collecting, and the way I got into nice thirsty massage. All right. So the way I got to collecting back again through the coronavirus, and my first wrestler that I had that I owned was Series 1 Hulk Hogan and Big John Studd, brother. And it's funny because at that time when they came out, it was like in late '85, so they already had them out, right? And we've always been vendors. We worked at swap meets, like I said, we came to this country, and my parents, they weren't legal here, and they to get legalized and stuff like that. So we had to work odd jobs, like a lot of us, right? So my mom, I remember working at the swap meet. She was a vendor, and I remember I told my mom, "Oh yeah, mine in Spanish. And Hulk Hogan and John Studd, look at mine. The wrestlers I watch on TV." My mom was like, "No, Miko, I can't afford this, And I'm more like, "No, yeah, mama." And I remember clearly I told my mom, "Look, mom, if you buy me sodas, I sell to all the vendors and I'll buy my own wrestlers." And I told the guy, "Listen, man, he only wanted $2 a piece from him." I said, "Listen, I'm gonna buy one Hulk Hogan and I'm gonna sell sodas later on, and I'm gonna come back and get John Studd." And I sold sodas throughout the whole day at the swap meet. It was an Orange swap meet here in Orange, California. And I bought my first wrestler was Big John Studd, but I had a hustle. See what I mean? I had a hustle to get my very own very first LJNs, and then from there I had to keep hustling to buy the rest.
That's brilliant. I love that. That really shows your passion for it, mate. You didn't just get to have them all at once. You had to work for it. But in 2019, you were doing a New Year's Eve cleanup. Is that right? New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, and you found something that would change your life.
Yes. What it was, Brother Saj, in I believe 2002 or 3, around 2000, I say 2002, my mom lost her whole house. Like I said, once again, she was addicted to substance. My stepfather, my dad already passed away by then. And I remember the marshal came, and we're probably like 18, 17. We were already kind of grown up. The marshal came. My mom was in another state. She was in Texas. And he said, "You guys have to get out the house or you're going to lose everything." So the marshal told us, "Get whatever you could get right now out the house and just forget it, because, once the marshal comes, they close their house. You can't get nothing back again." So I said, okay. And I remember clearly the very first things that I got was my LJNs, right? Because I'm still like a kid, like my child, my LJNs. And, like I said, and I collect He-Man too, right? So I got a lot of collection of He-Man and stuff like that. So I got to save a couple of them of LJNs and then my wrestlers, and that's how I just saved those. So like you said, Sasha, in 2019, it was gonna be New Year's. And I'm gonna clean up my storage, man. A lot of great ugly stuff. And I cleaned them up, and then I found a couple of my original LJNs, and that's it, brother. From there, I remember I got hooked on it. I'm like, oh, bro, my memory's gone. I'm gonna start looking for them again. And I remember I went to so here I go again, because I'm still a vendor. I go to Fresno, California, just a little bit, a couple hours up where I stay at, and a lady selling. I passed by driving, and then I see some LJNs. I'm like, "I'm not hit me, Buster, you." And when I busted you, she had a Macho Man. She had a King Kong Bundy. I didn't grab Terry Funk because supposedly I had it. I should have grabbed it because she only sold every single figure for me for $3. Special Delivery Jones. She sold me, what was it I got? Let me see this guy right here. I got Mouth of the South, and I got me an extra one. I got an extra Big John stud. And then the fun, check this out, but you know I was crazy about black cards? So I went and I said, okay, Happy, how much you want for them? $3. I grabbed 8 of them. I gave her $25. The next day I come back, I say, hey, lady, you don't have no more of these wrestlers. You know, I want to buy some more. She pulled out a Ultimate Warrior mint condition. I still have it. Mint condition, no rubber damage, no nothing. And she goes, my son Miko brought this one. You want this one? One more? I say, yeah, no problem. I'm not lying, brother Buddhist Valentine. You guys know the value of them. I did not know the value until 2000 when I started collecting again. The differences between the black cards and the other, I did not. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just collected them, but I didn't know the difference, how much expensive were the black cards more, right? So she goes, you just give me $5. I gave her $5. I paid $5 for a black mint Ultimate Warrior back in 2019. And like I said, from there, then I found another local guy here where I live at. He sold me a couple more. And that guy was the one that introduced me. He said, there's a page for LJNs. And I said, what's it called? He said, LJNs Figures and Customs. So I Googled it and I sent the invitations for me to get invited. And that's why, by the way, I want to send a shout out to Johnny Boxer because, he started LJNs Figures and Customs and we were all there working at the beginning. And then, like I said, but like I'm a very faithful, loyal person. Once my man Michael Weems and James Honeycutt started the group, I just kind of went more this way than many other ways, because Weems and James Honeycutt helped me out with my collection, brother. So, but that's pretty much how I got started again, man.
That's amazing, brother. You can certainly talk. You've got some stories. I love it, David.
Yeah, I mean, there was never a worry about Mexican Bert Reynolds having anything. Not to say, I mean, if you follow him on Facebook, I mean, him and Danny just have a great relationship, and that's kind of want to bring in Danny. I mean, Danny, Caesar is the collector. You're the customizer. How and when did you start customizing?
I started customizing about a year ago. And one of the groups that Caesar's actually talking about, the LJN customizing, Mike Weems had a contest where it was just make a figure of somebody else that's not a wrestler out of one of the LJNs. And I made Bane from the 90s Batman. And I got hooked on it. And from there, I started doing customs for Bert Reynolds, and from there it just went on and learned as I went along and been doing it since.
Yeah, I mean, what was your first one that you customized? I mean, did you collect LJNs, or I know we're basically mainly talking about LJNs, but were there any other wrestling figures that you collected as a kid, growing up? I mean, everybody knows there's more than LJNs. There's Hasbro's, there's Galoops, there's what other ones did you collect? Did you collect any growing up? I mean, was it something that you got into late?
I collected some of the LJNs when I was younger. I had them when I was younger, but it was later on in 89 or 90 because I was a little bit younger than the rest of the members of some of the groups and stuff. But like I collected some of the Jacks and Razor Ramones, and always a huge fan of Ric Flair and Hillbilly Jim, and that was some of the early LJNs I had was Hillbilly Jim and Hogan and Valentine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one I had was, of course, Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik. And the only ones I still have now, which I've told Zosh and Brutus this a million times, that if I had known that there was a market for people fixing figures, I would have kept all the ones that my mom found in her basement. But the Macho Man and Iron Sheik were the only ones who weren't broken. These groups are amazing. I mean, especially, the LJN for Life, the Zosh's group. I mean, James, the Michael Weems. I mean, he's a great great moderator and a great administrator on his page, and Johnny Boxer is great as well on his. But yeah, I mean, if I had known that there was a I guess a business, not a business, but a need for people, fixing wrestling figures. I mean, do you fix many, or is it all cut? Like, do you get some that you get maybe at like the flea market, or that you found that you fix, or is it all customs like that you create yourself?
No, some of them are the ones I fixed. Like one of the early repairs was I had $1 million man with half of a foot, so I repaired the shoe on him and like repaints and stuff like that. But they're not all just custom. Some of them are just touch-ups and repairs and rebuilds of faces, hands, or whatever they need to have.
Yeah, I mean,
hi, Danny. Yep.
Hello.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you, how did you come about to actually know that you had some artistic abilities? Is it something you had from a young kid while you're in school, or was it something that came later in life?
When I was younger, I was always good at drawing and painting and stuff like that. Yeah. And years ago, I used to do custom paints and on the inside of seashells and stuff like that, about the size of your thumbnail, and do whole entire sceneries. And then from that, when I started working on the custom figures, I realized that with the same technique, I could put the detail in smaller sections and do it all by hand, where I didn't have the technology to like get the stickers and such things.
Yeah, so all by eye and hand. And do you ever work from an image, or do you do it from your head, like when you're recreating an outfit or something like that, or a face?
It all depends on if, like a lot of times with Bert Reynolds, he wants him to look a certain way, so I'll go off that image. But then on some of them, I just wing it and go with what I can do and kind of feel it out and test the waters as I go and learn as I go. And then as of a few weeks ago, I just started doing custom Funko Pops for a couple amateur wrestlers about 80 miles north of where I live.
Right,
and, I did a couple for them, and they liked what I did. And now I have an order of 10 that I'm going to do by next Saturday for their shows, so they can sell it at their shows and stuff.
Oh, fantastic. And you capture those guys forever, who are just, local struggling guys keeping the indie scene alive. Zach, do you have any parallels with Danny in how you go about things?
Well, you asked a good question there, Brutus. Do you go from your imagination, or do you go from pictures? It got me thinking of myself. I remember at the beginning, I used to use my imagination a lot. And I used to get what I remember the wrestler looked like in my head, and just show that. And then people would be going, "Oh no, the knee pads went all the way to the boots. He didn't have knee pads that showing leg in between the knee pads." And oh no, this wasn't right with that. And so that got me really sort of paranoid about things. And I'm thinking, oh, should I put this up? I'm getting all this backlash. So I stopped working on my head and I started going strictly off pictures then. But I really enjoyed having my imagination come into it and having what I interpreted that wrestler to look like in my head rather than what he actually was. I really enjoyed doing that, and I kind of miss it a bit.
Yeah, I have, Danny, this is a question that just came up in my head. Have you thought of putting together and making a custom Mexican Burt Reynolds?
I actually have done one of him.
Oh, I mean, hey,
Can we just see it closer? Put it closer to the camera. That's awesome.
That's
brilliant.
Yeah, even I added in the Raiders logo in the back, and then the LJ for life.
I want to make sure. Let me see how. Okay, it's got the name of the group. Like Danny said, I sometimes want special details in it, so he put LJ in for life. There's a Mexican flag in the background, and there's the Raider, because I'm a big Raider fan. Like I said, I came in the 80s, Los Angeles Raiders had just won the Super Bowl. So it was really, really, really big in the 80s. You know, being a Raider fan here, it has my initial MPR. And then I told Danny, please make sure you put your initials too. So if you see right here, it says DW for Danny Weger. Okay.
That's got a great likeness to it. I think that's fantastic custom.
That's it. And so what we did, we grabbed we bought a beater from, shout out to Derek and Slaughter too. Okay, good guy too, good sister. He sold us a beater, Brian Blair, and then we used this one, and we got a Johnny Valiant body, and that's it. We just think, I guess Danny does all the work, man. I just love his work, man. I know you guys are all awesome. Sashman, I think you're like number one, but any other day, I want Danny to do that's just the love that I have for him, brother. That's it. I think you got the best ones, but Danny for me is number one, brother. That's the kind of my faithfulness to him. My goodness. I mean, I got other ones that, you know, I have Josie Palmieri did, you know, Palmieri did a couple of them. I got some from Manslaughter, you know, from Derek, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Like this one's from Derek Manslaughter. Beautiful. So there's a lot of guys that have a lot of good customs. You know, this is Danny. This is Danny.
How many customs have you got, Caesar? How many have you got there?
Oh, I gotta say about roughly 30 at least. And I say about out of those 30, 20 belong to 20 are from Danny.
Oh.
That's my man.
I can see he's looking after you.
He did this.
Yeah.
And you know why I love Danny? This is just me. I'm gonna throw it out there. Not when we started, me and Danny, and you know, a lot of guys, I know they use the computer to pull out the stickers and print out the details and everything. Danny didn't have all this, brother, and I don't think if he still does or not. A lot of Danny's work, it's all handwritten, brother. You see all this painted? That's a lot of detail, brother. To paint all that, you know, like, let me see. I don't know which way is the camera. There you go.
It's another skill altogether.
Yes. So I just like, to me, Danny's like, I see like the love he puts into them, brother, because they're just all hand painted, you know? So, I got Michael Wings. He just said, what about mine? I got some from Michael Wings too. I got a couple of them too. I'm sorry about that, Wings. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a couple. I got a custom smash from Wings. They're in my bucket, but I didn't want to pull all of them. You see, bro? I just pulled some of them out for my ring, you know. And like I said, I collect He-Man. So, you know, this has nothing to do, but I just wanted to bring it up because everything had to do with the 80s. So, you know, growing up, you know, He-Man and LJ was my thing. And then I got a crazy story for you guys. I don't know if you guys want to hear it. I remember one time we were at Newberry, and I told my mom, "Oh, hey, Mom, I didn't have a Macho Man." I remember, listen, brother. I'm like, "Mom, I got this one." I know that it was like, I don't know if it was 88 or 87 maybe. I said, "Hey, Mom, I need a Macho Man." Listen, guys, it's kind of embarrassing, but this is, I think, the way moms display their love sometimes. I literally remember my mom opening up the pack of a Macho Man, and she stuffed it in her breast, brother. She put it in her breast, and she walked out the way. She might not say, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing now that I'm a grown man. But when you're a little kid, you're like, "Yeah, Mom, yeah, it's okay, Mama. Go ahead, jack it for me, you know, rob it for me." But it's, you know, that's the kind of love I have for LJNs. And like I said, sometimes, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't have money, you know, and we had to. As a matter of fact, I shared with Satchman. I remember going to WrestleMania. It was two or three, I think it was two, when they had all different events in different venues. And I cried, bro. I cried because the sports arena was literally 10 minutes away from my house. I mean, it's South Central Los Angeles. I mean, I could probably literally walk there in half an hour while I was there. And it makes me want to cry right now still to this day, bro. We had no money, bro. I had no money to get inside, brother. And I remember, but I was outside, bro, and I bought the Hogan, the little finger thing. And you know, it was big, bro, WrestleMania. It was WrestleMania 2, bro, outside the Coliseum. It's next to the Coliseum, correct me, I'm sorry. It was the sports arena, Los Angeles Sports Arena. They're right next. The two venues are right next to one another. And I cried, man. I was like, you know, but now I understand the times that we were living, and you know, but I want to thank God, like I said, you know, that now we got, you know, things, better times now, you know.
I will give this to Caesar. My mom never stole anything for me, let alone, I'm sorry, walked away with it. She didn't steal it because she was going to give it to her son. That is love. I mean, Zash, wouldn't you call that love? I mean, well, mom will, risk going to jail for a wrestling figure. I mean, you would think it would be for something else, but a wrestling figure, that is love. Danny, did you ever have a story like that? Did anybody ever steal a wrestling figure or anything for you when you were growing up?
No, I can't say that she ever stole any wrestling figures from me.
No. I think my mom threw away some of my wrestling figure. Oh, I'm sorry. That was my wife. No, just joking. Hey,
she sold them to me, man. She sold them to me.
Hey, I wish that she had done something like that, but yeah, that's a great story. I mean, Zash, I know you have some other questions for Mr. Mexican Bert Reynolds and Danny Weeker.
Oh, mate, the biggest fear for me is I don't want to die not because I'm scared of death, is the fact that I think my wife will just throw away all my figures and think they're worth nothing because I've been lying all this time telling her that I'm paying nothing for them. She's going to think they're worth nothing. But, yeah.
I hope she doesn't watch the podcast.
I'm pretty safe with that one, actually.
Yeah. So with my wife, I could say whatever. She'd be like, "Well, you're going into your office and your studio to talk about wrestling figurines," kind of like your buddy on the YouTube video who's like, "Oh, we're talking about wrestling figurines." And I showed that video clip to my wife. She just laughed. I don't know why. No, but and Caesar and Danny. This kind of harks back to my childhood. LJNs, I was a single kid. I didn't have a brother or sister. And the wrestling figures, the LJNs, they brought me joy and happiness. And I went through probably like 30 rings because, maybe not that many. It seems like a lot back then. But, did any of both of you go through any rings as a kid? Beating the crap out of the LJNs because they weren't light. They were kind of heavy. So.
I hope no one stole a ring by putting it in your clothing because it'll be like this big. There's a huge box.
I tell you one thing, man. Back in 1992, we had the infamous LA riots.
Yeah.
Here in that's bad, but I want to give you one.
Yeah.
That's Arn Anderson.
Yes,
you know what's so funny during the LA riots? My mom was a changed woman, by the way. She had to say she devoted her life to God, and she tries to rob me there, and I'm getting there little by little. That's why I want to give God the honor for having me here. But during the 1992 riots, brother, I'm not going to lie to you, brother. My mom she had a lot of workers that worked for her. They went out there to loot and grabbed a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure, bro, she grabbed me one of the rings. Because she came back with one of these rings, brother. And I'm not saying my mom, I just say, listen, man, I'm telling you, I'm not, it might seem too crazy of a story, but listen, I just want to emphasize the whole thing is about the mother's love, you know what I mean? The mother's love for me, you know what I mean? And I remember clearly she got me a brand new ring. And when they shut down my house, like I said, back in 2001, 2002, I lost everything. I lost, I have baseball cards or football cards, Troy Aikman's, rookie cards, Shaquille O'Neal's rookie cards, and I lost them all. I don't know what Michael Williams is saying, but I just want to say that she probably put it in there too, like you had said, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But my mom has changed. I want to say one thing. Hey, my mom might be watching this. I told her I'm gonna send you the link. My mom is a changed woman. If I tell my mom right now, go jack me Transformer, He-Man, she will not do it. And I will not want her to do it now.
Yeah, and according to Michael Weems, his wife knows exactly how much he pays, and she doesn't like it. I can understand that. Michael Weems is like, that's why you don't tell the wife, or you don't let the wife watch the podcast.
He's a brave man. He's a real brave man. Letting her know. Hey, Daddy, I've got a question for you. If you got into wrestling figures as late as 89 and 90, did you end up getting any LJNs when you were a kid, or did you only get black card?
Most of the LJNs I had, I believe, were from garage sales, yard sales, and stuff like that. And I had some when I was a kid, and I used them for everything, mostly beating on my brothers with, or throwing out of windows or stuff like that. So,
yeah. When I was Oh, sorry, David. Yeah,
Oh,
when I
no.
was wrestling, doing the research for the book, and I was going through all the newspaper archived articles from 84 up to 91. From about 1988, the ads in flea markets, yard sales, and that you'd see 20 wrestlers in a ring, $25. So by then they were well and truly, into the flea markets and the yard sales, and that's how a lot of later kids finally got a whole heap of wrestlers that they'd never seen before.
Yeah, it was even like that in Australia too. I can remember
Yeah.
back in the late '80s, early '90s, there was the wrestling figures everywhere in Australia
Yeah.
on the market. So
Yeah, and I mean, since we're in a global pandemic, so going to yard sales and into people's houses for estate sales and other kind of things, Danny, has that kind of weaned your collecting and your fixing up of wrestlers, or have you not really seen a downturn in when you try to find some, or you just buy mostly online, or do you actually go out in your community and try to find stuff in the wild?
I try to go out and find stuff in the wild, but usually I'm not finding a whole lot. I do a lot of the buying that I do online or out of Canada, mainly from other group members and stuff like that. This past weekend, I was in southern Indiana at a flea market where I know that the guy normally has totes and totes full of them, and he had maybe half a tote full. And he said himself that, with the pandemic and everything else, not a lot of sales going on, and he picks a lot of his up from estates or stuff like that, and there's not a lot of happening even in Indiana or anywhere for that matter. So it kind of cuts it back a little bit, but it's nice to have friends in Canada for that kind of things also.
I mean, I want to go to, some consignment stores and some flea markets and whatnot around, but I do think it's kind of cut down on. It's not cut down on the. I just want to ask your opinion on the price of LJNs. This is one I put out on Twitter and on Facebook. The price of LJNs has just skyrocketed. I mean, does that also affect? I would assume that also affects some of your purchases. I mean, they've gone up so high.
Yeah, with me just beginning and everything and only being into it a year, I'm still small. I'm not as big as some of the other members of the group like Weems and Honeycutt and those guys. But so it does affect it a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, it's I haven't seen play, and I want to get Brutus and Zosh and the great Mexican Bert Reynolds opinion on this. I've seen on a lot of these groups, no names to be, to be revealed to protect the innocent. People are selling LJNs, $500-$600. I mean, what do you? I just want to get a roundtable discussion. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, people pay it, but I mean, do you think people are taking advantage when they do this, or do you think it's just a fair market?
I feel like it's basically like anything else. Either it's LJNs or Mattels or your WD Motos or your He-Mans. You're going to have people who buy them just to raise the price on them so they can make a killer profit when they know that they're sitting on a lot of them. But then again, you have a lot of members of the group who are really good guys that, will cut you a deal or give you just a little bit more than what they paid for it, just so they're helping out a fellow member. That way they can keep that good relationship going between one another. So when possibly later on down the road you need a return favor, you have that going for you as well. I do feel that there are some people who are taking advantage of the stimuluses and stuff like that with gouging prices, but that goes for any collector or any figure or anything that you do.
I mean, any other opinions on it? I mean, Zosh, Brutus, or Caesar?
Oh, yeah. I mean, values is something I had to watch very closely. And being in Australia, I mean, we just pay a totally different price level to you guys anyway. And that's too bad. We have to, because we just don't have the supply. But when I look at the value, I don't talk much about the collector to collector market, because I reckon the quieter that is kept, the better, because then it's collectors dealing with collectors on forums, and you're not getting what we call over here a scalper coming in, assuming the role of a collector and then on selling it and that sort of stuff. So when I talk about prices, I'm always talking about retail, and I like to leave the collectors to actually go on the secret even better. And I've reported on this before, that we've only got 70 LJNs plus some variations. That's it, right? Plus the little guys. And most collectors are at the top end of their collecting. They just need those final few figures. You know, they've been doing it for a long time, or they're upscaling in the quality of the figure they've got, turning a very good triple plus into a near mint. So you might have 200 guys who want that nice spanking Haku, and that's going to drive the prices up, because in the past they might have needed 40 figures. Now they only need 2. And the forums are ready-made markets, but I've seen some of the prices that collectors trade with other collectors, and I'm thinking, gee, there's not much cream in that. That's a guy who's doing the right thing. And as Danny said, and Caesar agreed, you hear them sort things out. You watch a post a few weeks later and they said, he hooked me up, now I'm doing that for you. And so that's why all the forums, and there's about 5 big churning forums, you know, are really good for uniting collectors. And the one thing I want to say is, when I look at customs and I'm looking at how much time and work goes into it, I'm thinking, gee, these guys aren't going to be buying a retirement home pretty soon with that work, because by the time they get the figure, they get their materials, they get their paints, and they do modeling and they put in all that effort. Often they're paying postage as well. I think, gee, they're doing it for the love, not the profit.
A big yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Caesar, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, because I mean, you're a collector. I mean, and a lot of collectors, you know, they're different, you know, levels of, you know, being able to buy stuff. I mean, does that affects you a lot? I would assume.
Yeah, brother David. I think it goes back to what both Brutus and Danny said right on the dot. I think some people will take advantage of certain people, you know what I mean? Because they know the value. Well, you know, the value of them have been going up and up lately. And then just last year, remember Richard Hogan, they wanted it 225, 230. I sold one at 220. I got it for 200. But I sold it at that price because I stayed with the Richard Hogan because the guy just needed that certain figure to finish his collection. So it goes back to like what Danny said, you know, Brutus, listen, man, if you got a figure that somebody needs, and especially if you have an extra one, you know, go ahead, just slime the figure. Even if you don't make no money, it's the love of you one helping another brother. And for example, I'm just with this, I've already completed my set. I did my set in 6 months but this is another thing what Brutus said, you know, sometimes there's a saying that says beggars can't be choosers. And I see there's a lot of guys, you know, they want to buy a certain figure like a Bosman or a Haku, and you know, and they go, well, that's because I wanted minty and I wanted this and I want like this one. I'm like, well, you know what, but you don't keep on waiting, bro. Because it's like what Brutus said, it's hard for you to find one, and then when you find one, you want it looking like mint, and then some guys are wanting like mint, and they want to pay what is not worth mint, you know. So yep. I tell people, you know, like me, Jason only could know this. A lot of I see grabbing my black strap 100. I'm gonna tell you what happened to that black strap 100. This guy said, "My mom, what's up, Brian?" So I think that a lot of guys, you know, we can't be picky. James Honeycutt knows this, and I got into it with him a couple of times. And I said, "Look, James, you know, the guys they get picky about certain figures because the way they are is like I never been like that. You know, I bought a Haku from him at, I think it was $250, which is a good price." But, you know, his eye was messed up, was pain and everything. But at that time, nobody had Hakus. Nobody wanted to release one. So I was like, you know what? Take it. Stop being picky. Maybe you upgrade it later on, all that, and it'll work. And I'm just in with this, you know, and you can't be picky sometimes. Exactly, you know, and it's like, get what there is, because you might not even find one. So I had a guy that's been begging me, sell me your black strap, sell me your black strap, sell me your black strap. And I'm like, bro, I'm going to sell you my black strap. I have a good one, and I have one that was kind of like I said was, you know, I said, look, bro, give me, I don't know what you guys, I sold it to him. I even lost money on it. And Wayne he loses money on figures. I lost about $60. I paid $360 for that black strap. I sold it to the guy for $310 ship. After everything came back, I got about $300 because I had to pay for shipping. It's okay. I feel good because I blessed one man, but I know it comes back in return, you know? So it's like, if you really want to help a brother out, just don't look at the money. Help a brother out, just needs a figure or two, you know?
Yeah, and Zash, I mean, speaking, I mean, he was saying about how, one of the figures may have had some like paint, kind of rubbed off. I mean, you were gonna, I mean, you are amazing at painting. I mean, you were gonna kind of talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A while ago, I was thinking it'd be good to have on the show maybe 2 minutes talk of maybe a custom hint or something like that for customizers that might be just getting into it or something like that. So today, I just said to David, I'd like to show off a bit of paint and just show some brands of paint that I use. I know in America, you guys have the, what's it called? That one that everyone uses. Danny, help me out here. What's that
I believe
paint?
it's
Walmart
Craft Mates. I use Michael's. I use a Master Touch.
That's actually a great paint. Well, I can't get it in Australia though. But what we've got in Australia, we've got Deco Art, which is kind of similar. It's Americana.
Yeah.
So this is a cheap paint for us. This does the job for a lot of, clothes and whatever you might paint, hats or all that kind of thing. Might have bright colours.
Fingernails.
Or fingernails.
Yeah.
Anything, yeah. So this works fine. You pick this up in Australia from Spotlight. That's around about $5 Australian per bottle. They're on special at the moment, actually, so I've got a bunch of them. So they're just cheap paints, but with flesh color and stuff like that. I used to mix it all up myself, but now a lot of the time I mix flesh colors together to get the right color. One of my favorite colors to use is the Citadel. That's a paint that is a little bit more expensive. You get smaller tubes and stuff like that, but it's a good quality paint. Also, there's Vallejo, which is similar sort of thing. You can see my daughter's paint job on my fingernails. No, I'm not a wrestler. Then you've got the Joe Sonia, which works really good. That's meant to be quite a flexible sort of paint, I've heard from a few artists that paint on like soft Belgian linen canvas and stuff like that. My dad's an artist, so he gives me quite a few hints with paints and mixing paints and colours and all that. He's been an artist for about 50 years now in Australia. He's quite well known, so he gives me some hints on paints and stuff like that as well. So the Joe Sonia actually works really well, and you get a lot for your money with Joe Sonia. But my actual favourite paint is something that a lot of guys wouldn't have heard of. It's called Mig Ammo. It actually goes on very smoothly. It has bugger all brush stroke, because I like to finish off with a lot of sanding and sealant, and there's sand and sealant. Because you'll notice on a lot of my customs, I don't get a lot of brush strokes on them because I do a lot of work at the end of it to eliminate all the brush strokes. But this is a really good paint if you want something really smooth and silky. The Mig Ammo, it's got a ball bearing inside. So you can hear that when it shakes. So you know straight away if they're investing in putting a ball bearing inside their paint, you know it's going to be good because they're investing the extra money. They care about the quality. So Mig Ammo is something that I rate quite highly. I can only get it on the internet, and I pay about $12 a bottle for that. So that's quite expensive to only get it where I really need to. But that's the paint talk for this week, guys. If you learned something, great.
I will say, well, I've gotten a lot of feedback on Twitter right now. They love that segment. I love Paint Talk. But speaking of things that we should definitely talk about, and Zasha, I'm going to get you to
look at Brutus.
Barrel from Weems. That's the one I was thinking of. Weems. Thank you, mate.
And
during the COVID, guys, just throw us out there for the paint. Can I ask Sasha a question, please?
Sure.
Hey, I'm not a painter, I'm not a customizer, but during the COVID, collecting LGNs was a big thing for me because got me out the COVID depression, and I was just buying. I was like, who cares? Ain't nothing else to do. There came a time though where I said, that's why I want to ask this question to Sash. I don't know about in Australia maybe, but here in the United States, well, here in California, for what I know, other states too, Sash, my question to you is, did you guys run out of paint? Because I went to Walmart and Wings knew, and I told him, well, where's the apple barrel? There was no paint. A lot of stuff was gone from the stores, as you know, due to the COVID, but there was no paint at all. And I was like,
Yeah.
I want to paint. I got nothing to do. I might as well just mess with my beaters. There was no paint, Sasha. My question to you is, did you guys run out of paint during the COVID, or were you guys have paint?
We had a big shortage in Australia, especially Spotlight that sells that Americana paint that I showed you at the beginning, the cheaper stuff. That was nowhere to be seen. There's still a bit of a shortage now, and we had to go to art shops like Urkesley's and stuff like that to get our paints, which are sort of more higher end sort of art shops, which got me into a bit of the boutique style paints, which I got to try out a lot of stuff. I don't mind throwing a lot of money into my customs because they're my passion. It's what I do, you know. I don't try and go cheap on them by any stretch of the imagination. If I spend $30 on an accessory for one, well, I put 30 hours into this thing. I'm spending $30 on an accessory for it. You know what I mean? But I spare no expenses, and that's why when a lot of people ask me the price of a custom, how much can you do this for? And I tell them the price. I often don't hear from them again because when I'm spending so much money on this, I'm not taking any shortcuts, and I'm into this custom until the very end. And sometimes I think I'll finish this tonight, and you know what? I finished it 3 nights later because I'm just not happy. I just keep going back and going back and going back. The tiniest little thing ain't right. So 30 hours, and you're making maybe $40 profit on this custom, and you're putting 30 hours into it, and then people are scoffing at the fact of what you're asking. You know, it's fine. A lot of people have different budgets, but for me, I'm quite happy to just tell them straight up what it's going to cost, and they can move on to someone else if they like. But yeah, I got way off your topic of question. Then I do apologize.
No, that was good. You know, yeah.
It's good that I'm happy you said that, Sas, because like I said, beggars can be choosers, and I see that from a lot of guys. They'll do customs. And they're good. And this is one thing I hate. For example, this is just me. This is not directed towards any individual member, but you guys put a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice into customs. I know this. It's a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. I hate individuals right off the top or comment. Look at his head. Look at his hands. Look at his this. And look at it. And it's like, that's sad, bro. That you shouldn't, you know what I mean? You shouldn't, because I know, for example, Danny and me have a thing where he gives me love, bro, with the prices and Danny, sometimes, he don't even charge me. Sometimes I'll be like, man, I feel bad. I'm like, what can I send them? Can I send them okay, well, can I send them some shirts, or can I send them, because I know his dedication for that, bro. And I really get mad because some people is like, listen, man, you don't know the work and the time of 30, like you said, 30 hours into a custom. And it's like, if you think about how much you get paid an hour, $15 minimum wage here, times 3, you're supposed to be paying me $200 for a figure, brother. And I'm charging you $40, $50. Just be grateful, man. That's what I tell some of the guys. Be grateful, man. These guys, I've never complained about not one figure that Danny made or anybody has ever made for me. I'm very happy. Do
you get that, Danny, as well? Do you sometimes their expectations are too high in what you can deliver for the amount of money they will spend, and you have to say, oh, no, mate, you better go somewhere else?
I really haven't had too many problems. There was a couple here and there, but it wasn't nothing, that we couldn't come to an agreement on.
Right.
My main concern is like when I'll be halfway done with something and then they'll like, well, could you change the suit to this color? And I'm like, well, now you're going to add the extra time it takes me to remove the paint. But it's nothing big like that. I'm pretty easygoing and fair, and I like to work with people, figure out, help who I can when I can.
Yeah. I mean, we could tell guys, if you want a $10 custom, I'll start working on one now for you. I mean, because you're going to get someone who's crap like me. But of course, you're going to have to pay $40 postage from Australia. So that kills that. So, yeah.
True that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I've been thinking about Danny this whole show because, I mean, it's one of those things. We have something coming up, and I'm going to get Zosh to talk about it. It's coming up in the month of July. If everything goes well and is on the right track, it's LJN Custom Mania 2021. I mean, if people are watching and listening, of course, they're listening on our audio version only, which is the same as the video version, except you just can't see our pretty faces. Tell everybody what LJN Custom Mania is.
Well, I've told everyone but previously it's going to be a massive custom comp that is hopefully going to be an annual thing. There's 3 massive trophies for the first, second, and third prizes. There's going to be prize money. There's lots going on, but yeah, the trick is you have to do 3 figures. We do ask a lot in the sense that we're not just doing 1 figure, we're doing 3 figures. But I think we've given you ample time to do it, and it's going to be exciting. There's going to be 3 rounds. So people are going to get confused, but the way it is, you put 3 figures in each, and it goes over 3 rounds. So you guys pick which figure you want to put in for the first and second and third round. Now, you don't get knocked out in each round. You go all the way to the 3 rounds, but the points that you're gaining in the votes will add up over the 3 rounds. And at the end, we're going to be doing a massive live podcast, and all the votes are going to be counted. It's going to be all there for everyone to see, and it's going to be an exciting finish. So,
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be. I mean it's gonna be amazing. Of course, I'm gonna be on the panel. Zosh's gonna be on the panel. Brutus is gonna be on the panel. But we have our host. I mean, I'm not gonna reveal who it is. I just wanted to. You have to tune in. I mean, even if you're not a customizer, tune in because it's gonna be on all of our normal platforms that we're on right now. I mean this host. I mean, I can't believe we got him. I mean, he is like amazing. So. I mean, he is one of the biggest names in wrestling. I just wanted to give that clue. So you need to tune in, each and every week, and especially the first week to find out who it is. I mean, Sasha, I can't believe we got this guy. We're not going to reveal who it is right now because that would just, be a spoiler. It's a tease. I mean, it's
like the snake.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what?
Like the snake. I like Jake the Snake. It's a redemption story, man.
Hey, and Tom,
I mean, you know what? We've had so many bloody changes along the way, and
it could be Andrade because he just got released by the WWE, but it could be The Rock, Tom Ward. I mean, you're gonna have to tune in. I mean, it's one of those things. People in the United States watch the NCAA tournament, religiously. You need to watch this show religiously each and every time. I mean, it's going to be blowing up bigger than the normal WrestleMania, and it's going to be amazing. But the person who is going to be the host will be revealed on that night, not any sooner. No matter how many customs, if you give me all the LJNs that I don't have, which are all of them, I will still not tell you who is going to be the host.
Damn.
And Pam Scott likes the Jake the Snake idea. Pam will. He has turned his life around with thanks to DDP yoga. So maybe it could be him. Folks.
I like Jake. His redemptive story, man.
It's one of those things that it's not going to be on the dirt sheets. You're not going to be able to find about it on Twitter. It's not like watching a pay-per-view on the network and then you find out the results on Twitter before watching them. Nope. You're going to have to tune in to the competition starting in July. All the information, how to enter, how to do all that's going to be on the figureguys.com/LJN Custom Mania in the next day or so. And it's going to be amazing. I mean, it's Zosh's idea. I mean, he's the brain trust of this idea. And I mean, it's going to be amazing, Zosh.
I got to take a quick leak. Please don't go. Please.
Oh, okay.
Hurry up, Steve. The end, buddy.
Can I ask a question about Customania?
Yeah.
Yes. I will bring back Mexican Bert Reynolds when he comes back from the loo. All right.
And I reckon
here we go.
Danny could help me out on that. Some guys sometimes worry that, they're not at the elite level of customizing or, they don't make customs and sell them. And really they shouldn't enter competitions like this because their work's not good enough. When you first started and Zash, were you experts when you began?
Yeah.
I still feel that way most of the time.
Yeah. And how does someone who does this get better? How do you actually get better? There's only one way I know of to get better at most things.
With me, it's just trial and error, just doing what I can, seeing.
Just do it. Yep.
Figure out as I go. Yeah. There's so many amazing customizers in the LJN for Life. That you can base off of to try to work your way up to. And I've seen so many amazing things to try to strive for.
Yeah, so what I would say, especially to guys who aren't from Australia, if you're not sure and you think you're not good enough, well, don't you judge that, right? That'll be judged, and it's all about learning and getting other tips. And check out a Winter Olympian called Steve Bradbury, hey Zash, and if you think you're not the best in the world, check him out and how he won his gold medal in speed skating. Stephen Bradbury. You might have heard of him before.
I've had many of Stephen Bradbury moments, and in Australia, whenever you win something, and you're not expected to win it, it's called a Steve Bradbury. Everyone says having a Steve Bradbury. So look it up, guys. You'll love
check it out. And he's a fun guy as well, but it shows that sometimes there's more than one way to win, and sometimes it's actually not you writing yourself off that's about winning. And of course, this competition's not actually about winning. Winning's a nice little thing, but it's about getting this community together, sharing ideas, people saying, gee, I didn't know he did customs. His paint's really good. He's not a great sculptor, but gee, his hand decals. And this guy's sculpting is fantastic, but you know, his face isn't the best. And then the second figure might be different. And it's about, how did you learn that? Oh, you put Mod Podge on there and all that sort of thing, and getting this community going. And Funko Pops, I didn't even think about Funko Pops. So you're doing Funko Pops, you know, and it's about growing and getting that sort of stuff together. And this is probably the last thing I'll say. I just want to ask Caesar for the young people, what's a Bert Reynolds?
You know what it is. Don't get mad at me. Well, no, you guys shouldn't. Well, I don't know. Some probably get. A couple of girls started nicknaming me that back in high school because I already had a nice little mustache. And they call me that, and they call me Pooh, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh because I got the cheeks, and so I went.
I'll go with Bert Reynolds.
But that helped me because yes. And the girls, some guys will get mad because they're like, "You don't look like Bert Reynolds." I'm like, "Tell the girl," and the girls will be like, "Well, yes, he does a little, and he's kind of handsome." And I'm like, "Well, you know, I'm just whatever," you know what I mean? And I got a girl too just because I was Bert Reynolds, you know. Yeah. But I don't think I look like him, bro. I don't know.
I mean, trust me. I think you could pick up more ladies by being Mexican Burt Reynolds than Winnie the Pooh. I mean, I'm just. It's
kind of like, come on, man. Hey, Sasha, I'm about to play my hands now. You know, come on now, bro. Just kidding, bro. Just say, come on, man. Winnie the Pooh's kind of like no, Mexican Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, and going back to the competition really quick before we wrap things up tonight. I mean, how legitimate and how honest can this competition be? I mean, it's going to be amazing. We have Brutus Valentine counting the votes. I mean, he's the most honest person in Australia that I know, besides Zash Man. I mean, it's going to be an amazing thing, and it's one of those
land of convicts.
Well, I mean, I wasn't gonna say that, but Zash and Brutus, you'll agree with me. I think that this is about having fun. This is not about whose ego, is going to be bigger. This is about having fun and building the community. I mean, it's about making this an annual event.
Oh, we've got to have plenty of laughs along the way. Otherwise, it's just going to be not worth it. At the end of the day, this is a non-profit thing, and it's something that we're all just doing out of love. So we've all just got to have some fun, and that goes for the contestants as well. Everyone that's entering, I want you to enter with a smile on your face. Don't have big expectations. Don't be so competitive. Just enter your figure and support each other. Support the other figures. You might not like some of the figures. Support them anyway, because that's what it's all about. We don't go out there to be competitive. You go out there to support each other, and everyone's doing their best. Everyone's having fun. Let's just go with it, and that's customizing in 2021.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be over a couple weeks. It's I mean my wife was like, you're on a co-host for a show about wrestling figures, customizing wrestling figures. I was like, she was like, you don't do that. I'm like, it's about the love. I mean, it's about seeing, Mexican Burt Reynolds. I mean, his face light up whenever he talks. I love that figure. And Danny customizing stuff for him. And it's all about building a community. And I mean, that's what it's like. You said, it's we're not making any money off of it. We're just doing it for the love of collecting and seeing what people come up with. And then next year, when it becomes massive, I've already come up with some bigger plans, even though we haven't done the first one, some bigger plans for next year. So if you don't get, to the finals and don't get picked as the best custom, I mean, don't worry about it. It's all about having fun, and you can enter next year. Oh, I love that. I love that custom, and I love the one behind them.
Danny made them. All the ones I'm showing you, they're Danny's.
Earthquake and tugboat, the natural disasters.
I figured, listen, we're going to talk about customs. I brought out all my boys' customs he made for me. They're beautiful, man.
I mean, Danny, have you thought of hopefully entering the contest?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, see, folks, it's going to be an amazing competition. I can't wait to see what we got, and it's going to be amazing. I mean, Zosh, Brutus, you have any I guess ending thoughts before we get out of here tonight?
Well, we haven't done our promo this week, David, and everyone's doing a promo, and we're leaving it to Mr. Brutus over here, because this week's his promo for his book. So I don't know whether he wants to give away any of those heads that he showed off last week in the envelope. He had a load of cut-off LJN heads. You might want to chuck one of them in with each book, but I don't know. What do you think, Brutus? Can you do a deal for our listeners?
I could. I can't throw a head in because that actually puts it over the mailing weight. The book was engineered to be 876 grams or less. Sorry for the metric, guys. Otherwise, yeah. Well, there's a few pages with your work on it. I could knock out there. But anyway, yes.
They won't miss anything there. Don't worry.
If you. Let's see. I have to set up the website for ordering. You've caught me on the hop there, and then set up a code in order to do that sort of thing. But if someone orders the book and they just say they saw it on the Figure Guys podcast this week, I can take 10% off the book, and then I can refund that back. That'll be the easiest way for me to do it, rather than set up a code and get all that going. And that can apply for a week. There's a handful left in the US at the moment, only about 4, but there's another box on the way. But I wouldn't wait for them because mail can take a while. And of course, if you're not from the US, I'm sending out quite regularly, and I'm down to about 100 books, right? About 110 left remaining. And so I wouldn't wait forever, is what I'm saying. Because they could go quickly, and I don't know whether I'll do a second printing because the cost is that was $15,000 to do that printing just for that. And so whether I can afford to do that a second time and maybe not sell the books, I'm not sure. So I wouldn't wait forever is what I was saying. If you put an order in, say you saw it on LJN for Life over the next week, I can refund 10% of that book price back.
And that must be the first special you've had on your book, because this is like Apple. This is like there is no special on this book normally. I've never seen a special. Is this the first one you've had?
There was a short one. One of the things is I've had to send out about 50 comps, and about 40. And when you have the postage from Australia, and often they're express comps as well. And you hope that will then get the book noticed, and sometimes you get a shout out and sometimes you don't. It's a natural part of doing it, but it eats up a big portion of what's from the book. I mean, if it was a book where it could print 2,000 and sell that, it'd be a different story. But in small scale publishing, and I did put the money into the quality. I wanted it to really look good. And, it's again, like with Danny, what he's doing, we're not going to retire on doing these things, but you hope you get a bit ahead, and so that's why there haven't been any specials like that. The other thing with specials sometimes is people will wait for a special and then wait for a special and wait. I can't reduce. I'm already subsidising postage anyway, but I can't reduce that because that's what's paid, and it's sort of just like at some point, you've got to jump in and spend the money on something if you think it's worth it and you can afford it. And if you can't, then that's fine, because we can't all afford to do this. And life's been pretty tough for a lot of people over recent times. And, and that's totally understandable. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that you're doing that for the Figure Guys podcast listeners and watchers.
Thank you, Brutus.
Yeah, and Zash, I mean, next week we have another amazing guest. You want to kind of talk about who's coming up next week?
Who is it?
We have Joseph Palmer. Palmer.
Joseph, my man, Joseph.
It's one of his.
Joseph.
That's one of his.
Joseph's a legend, mate. He's done some amazing customs. Look at that. Caesar will tell you all about Joseph. He's a big fan of Joseph Palmer. Joey Bags on Facebook. He's
got a few customs in the book as well.
Yeah. Joseph actually got into customizing a similar time to myself. And I was talking to Joseph on it was quite a while ago now, but we got into customizing at a similar time. And I liked his Legion of Doom, and his Legion of Doom was the first customs that I actually purchased, going back years ago. But he's a legend. He's a fantastic guy. He's actually our main sponsor now on Custom Mania. He's supplying all the trophies for it. He will be entering, but he's just put the money into the trophies. So we all thank Joseph for that. He's definitely put his hand in his pocket and helped us all out as a community. He didn't get asked. He came off his own head. He almost asked us, "Can I please help out?" So look, we're all very thankful of Joseph, and he's a great man. So look forward to a chat next week.
Yeah, and the trophies, I mean, look amazing. I mean, you definitely want to win these trophies. I mean, it's going to be something that you could put. It's not one of those like participation trophies that I seem to have gotten in Little League, because everyone got them. You know, this is going to be first, second, and third. They're not going to be any more around like that for this year. So I mean, it's definitely a prestigious award, and it's going to be a great event. But for the great Zashman, the creator of the LJN Bible, the great Brutus Valentine, Danny Weger, and of course, our celebrity on the panel, the great Mexican Bert Reynolds. I'm David Fine. We will see you back here next week, same time.
Thank you guys one more time. Brutus, I love your book, man. I love your book.
Thank you.
Size, Great Customs, find you the man.
And
I love you guys. Thank you, Dean.
We'll see you
Love your work,
next
mate.
week.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming, boys.
All righty. Bye.